Welcome to Investing in the Future of Mining. I'm Darryn Quayle.
And I'm Mike King, and we're here today to guide you through a showcase of how Cornwall and the Southwest region's mining exploration and exploitation activity will fuel a clean growth future for the UK and beyond.
Our region has a long established history of supplying global demand, and we're excited about mining's role in supplying the needs for the next industrial revolution. That's why 5 of our exploration companies have come here today to outline their plans for supplying the global needs of the future.
In 2019, we were designated as one of the Department of International Trade's high potential opportunities. That built on the great strengths that we have at the Camborne School of Mines, a centre of academic excellence, the over 100 mining services businesses that still operate in Cornwall, and of course the resources that lie beneath our feet that you'll get to hear about later in the event. We now have a short film that describes the breadth of that high potential opportunity.
In the face of a global climate emergency, the way we power our world is changing. From storing vast quantities of renewable energy to powering long-range electrical vehicles, high-capacity battery technology is enabling a cleaner, greener future for us all. UK government policy is helping to drive this forward, but without rare critical metals like lithium, none of this can happen. Today, global demand for those metals is rapidly outstripping supply, but the solution is right under our feet, here in Cornwall.
There's an abundance of high-grade lithium, tin, copper and tungsten ready to be mined here, in one of the most stable mining environments in the world, where government and local communities understand the opportunities the sector can provide.
In fact, as the home of some of the highest grade lithium in the world, Cornwall's mining activities recently received £1 million of funding from the Build Back Better programme and a further £2.9 million of funding from Innovate UK. Why Cornwall? Because it's home to an unparalleled concentration of talent and experience, with over 100 mining services companies trading in every major mining province in the world.
It provides a full life cycle of services, from grinding solutions, gravity separators, through to mineral analysis and tailing specialists. The Cornwall Mining Alliance brings all these organisations together, providing clients with access to the experts they need. So when you work with one Cornish mining company, you automatically access a vast network of experience and existing working relationships, often from companies no more than a stone's throw from each other. This offers lower project cost, reduced risk and faster time to value.
Providing these businesses with the best talent and keeping our historic industry moving forward is the world-famous Camborne School of Mines. Established in 1888 and now part of the University of Exeter, CSM provides 8 MSc programs to students from around the world. Conducting research with cutting-edge innovations like digital exploration, geothermal energy and keyhole mining to help make excavation smarter, safer and more sustainable, and creating a circular economy for high-tech metals, rare earths and lithium here in Cornwall. As renewable resources take centre stage, we're at the start of an exciting new chapter in our 4,000-year-old mining history. Join us and explore a truly groundbreaking opportunity as Cornwall leads yet another industrial revolution.
The video clearly shows Cornwall's considerable and historical ability to supply the global mining industry. But what about the demand for the future? Firstly, we'll hear from Benchmark Mineral Intelligence about their forecast for the global demand for lithium.
I'd like to thank you all for inviting me to speak today on the UK's position in what we call at Benchmark the global battery arms race. I've got some slides I'm going to show which will tell the story of the UK's position and what the rest of the world is doing in building out what we call lithium-ion economies. That's not just battery capacity, but the ecosystem to go with it to gain dominance in electric vehicles and also energy storage as that new industry emerges. So the slides I'll present now should last about 8 or so minutes, and it should give you a really good overview of where we stand. And this is our latest data at Benchmark. So the global battery arms race is a phrase we created back in 2015 when there were actually 3 of these battery mega factories in the pipeline back then. Now there are, of course, well, actually in May 2018, there were 84. Then we went to 142 individual gigafactories. and now there's 211 in the pipeline with a total capacity of 3.7 terawatt hours or 3,700 gigawatt hours. So the story here is the world is building lithium-ion battery capacity at speed, at scale, at varying levels of quality, but in every region around the world. China is leading this, but as I'll show you in a second, this is not just a China phenomenon like it was 4 years ago. It is a global phenomenon now because of the need for dominance, primarily in electric vehicles. So this is the build out region by region. This is what's in the pipeline. This is committed projects at various stages of either active or under construction. And as you can see, by 2030, we're at 3.7 terawatt hours. Now, if you look at, interestingly, that's about 70 million EVs on average, depending on pack size. But you can also see there that China has 69% of this capacity, North America 10%, but a lot is happening there now. Certainly under the Biden administration, more mega factories to come. And then Europe has been very active. This is mainland Europe being very active in building these gigafactories around the world, as of course the major automotive companies get to grips with their strategy on electrification. Now, how do we view the supply chain? I think this is most critical because it's not just about building lithium-ion batteries, it's about building the ecosystem, the supply chain. Something that the UK has been very good at in its existing automotive industry, and something that other countries like China, for example, have done to gain dominance in this space. So quite simply, this is how the supply chain looks from the mine to the battery cell. It's important that a lithium-ion battery is a jelly roll of minerals, metals, and chemicals. So it's very much not just about having the battery capacity, but the raw materials and the chemicals to feed that capacity. But this is how the industry looks. This is the supply chain from a high level. Now, the first challenge is building capacity at every link in the chain. Now, it depends what strategy companies and countries want to go down, whether they want to get involved in all of it or just some of it. But capacity in every link in the supply chain is challenge number one. Then challenge number two is quality. So this lithium-ion batteries are not commodities, they're specialty products. The chemicals that go into it are not commodities, they're specialty chemicals. So there's a certain element of chemical engineering that is driving this forward. And so capacity and quality at every link in the chain is challenge numbers 1 and 2. China's leadership strategy since day one has been to control the midstream of this battery supply chain. Now, there might be a thought that China has a lot of domestic natural resources, and therefore it has a lot of these battery raw materials. Only 23% of this basket of key battery raw materials was mined in China. The key ones for us are lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, graphite. They're the specialty chemicals that are mined and then made into a chemical that then goes into the cathodes and anodes. They're the 5 key inputs, the 5 biggest challenges for countries and for companies. But China only mined 23% of these basket of raw materials, but it refined 80%. So really important that this midstream, owning capacity in the midstream, as you can see, 66% of cathodes and anodes there, gains downstream dominance, as you can see with the battery cells and the electric vehicle market share percentage. So very much a midstream supply chain strategy from the top within China over the last 10 years. What does the UK need to do? Well, we've said this a number of times, but the UK does need to build, in our mind, at least 4 gigafactories by 2027. This is the equivalent of 175 gigawatt hours, depending on how many, what the capacity of each plant is. But the goal is domestic lithium-ion battery capacity of 175 gigawatt hours, which needs to be ramped and ready by 2035. So to have it ramped and ready, you need to be starting to build these or have some of them active by 2027 to have them ramped and ready by 2035. And the cost has to be under $110 a kilowatt hour. Doesn't need to be the lowest cost in the world, needs to be competitive, needs to be quality. Now, what does that mean for the supply chain in terms of just sheer tonnages? So as you can see here, this is what I've mapped out by 175 gigawatt hours. That's 140,000 tons of lithium chemicals. That's about half of what was produced globally last year. That's no mean feat. That will be a mix of domestic sources that have to be established, have to be built, have to develop the know-how to mine and extract and make these lithium chemicals domestically. But there will also need to be contracts with countries that mine and produce lithium in the correct format for the UK's needs. So that's number one. Cathodes, 315,000 tons, anode to 10,000 tons. It's a lot of tonnages. The industry is ramping. The point here is how much of it is located domestically, how much is going to be deals from countries that are based abroad. There has to be a balance. The third thing here is battery cells. It starts with the battery cells, as I mentioned before. And then you start to build an ecosystem. That also includes battery recycling, but that will have to be established alongside the lifespan of these gigafactories. So that doesn't come first. That'll probably come second or third in the life cycle of building just a basic supply chain for the UK. The key is every stage in the battery supply chain has tiers of quality. So that's something to look out for. The UK needs tier 1 lithium-ion battery makers together with new startups to increase competition. We judge the tiers of lithium-ion battery makers every quarter. And this is our tier 1 producers. They have to have scale, they have to have quality, and they have to be qualified in Western OEMs, not just Chinese electric vehicle makers. So the UK needs to attract tier 1, tier 2, and new startups, new UK champions for this. So finally, the three main points here: UK complacency is no longer an option. The UK has been discussing this on many levels in many government departments. It has not brought together a coherent strategy from the top, which is what's needed. It needs to come from number 10, and then it needs to organize all the departments to then bring in industry and push forward a supply chain, an ecosystem agenda, not just an individual battery agenda, for example. So complacency is no longer an option. This is a global mega trend. It starts with the raw materials. Lithium-ion batteries are here to stay. They're getting better. So there's no risk of a shift in technology that will make lithium-ion batteries redundant. It's scale that we're talking about now. They're proven. The rest of the world is doing it. The third thing is the rest of the world is building lithium-ion economies. You can see this now in the US with President Biden announcing really the need for more gigafactories. We think they're going to need at least another 10, maybe another 20 in the US. The EU committed $3 billion and more to come to the supply chain. The EU understands that you need an ecosystem here. And China understood this 10 years ago and continues. And so the world is building a lithium-ion economy. What does the UK want to do? Well, if it wants to be part of this electric vehicle revolution, part of this energy storage revolution, then it needs to begin with a plan now. We are happy to help, of course, at Benchmark. We are speaking to many different departments, but it has to come from the top. It has to come from number 10. And on that, I appreciate your time for listening and for being invited to give this talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon Moore from Benchmark Mineral Intelligence. We'll now move on to a presentation from Fieldfisher, one of the leading mining practices in the legal world. They will talk about supply chains and particularly how investors can be assured that the supply chains are clean in every respect.
New legislation on raw material sourcing, a greater focus on environmental and social governance, and concerns about security of critical mineral supplies are all pushing a rethink of mining supply chains. End users want to know that their products have been made using materials and processes that conform to the highest ethical standards, with the smallest possible environmental footprint. These developments present clear opportunities for mining projects in countries with rigorous environmental, labour, anti-corruption and anti-money laundering laws, which until now have found it difficult to compete with producers in less tightly regulated areas. Minerals including copper, tin, lithium and tungsten are fundamental to the growth of the global technology sector and the transition to a low-carbon economy. Thanks to its rich geology and wealth of expertise, the UK is ideally positioned to support domestic and European supply security in these key resources. Built on the foundations of its proud mining heritage, today the British mining industry is modern, clean, sustainable and ethical. As well as contributing the raw materials needed for the green revolution, these mines will also be run on low or zero carbon energy sources to ensure that they deliver a net benefit to the environment. Projects underway include copper, tin and lithium developments in Cornwall, tungsten in Devon, gold in Northern Ireland and Scotland, and potash in Yorkshire. These are also bringing jobs, investment and environmental improvements to local communities, many of which have been neglected by other industries. At Fieldfisher, we provide advice to the majority of the UK's active mining projects, as well as to mining companies all over the world. We understand and help to overcome the challenges mining companies face in everything from raising funds and obtaining permits, to constructing facilities and negotiating supply and offtake agreements and dealing with disputes. The UK mining industry is entering an exciting new chapter in its history, and we look forward to being part of it.
Thanks very much to the team at Fieldfisher for that. Digbee ESG will now talk about how mining can be the world's catalyst for a low carbon economy.
ESG refers to the environmental, social, and governance actions that a company takes, allowing investors, corporates, and stakeholders to evaluate a company's commitment to sustainability. Examples of environmental factors may include a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, waste management, or increasing energy efficiency. The social factor can involve local social and economic development, human rights, or earning a social license to operate. Finally, governance may include the alignment of corporate and local stakeholders' goals, or a commitment to good corporate governance. According to MSCI, a commitment to ESG can increase profitability, reduce tail risk, and reduce systematic risk within the mining industry.
The role of ESG is having a really dynamic impact at the board of directors, where their obligations are moving from a principles basis to regulatory. It's facilitating a whole change of culture through companies to really have an impact on the ground and at project level.
The massive conundrum that everybody is faced with today is trying to balance two things. The first is in allocating capital to an industry that hasn't had a perfect ESG track record, and is also seen today as one that might not necessarily deserve that capital. On the other side of the equation, you've got the world which is planning to heavily invest to upgrade and secondarily green its infrastructure as part of the transition to a low carbon economy. That cannot be done without the raw materials that the resources industry produces. And therefore this conundrum is faced by everybody, whether it's regulators, whether it's governments, and also providers of capital. So it is necessary, therefore, for the industry, the mining industry, to be open and transparent and to embrace some of the challenges attached to reporting ESG metrics in order to get access to the capital that investors clearly want to give to the industry, but might be put off from doing so because they don't have the frameworks that they need to assess whether a company is doing a good thing. They know the raw materials are needed. Governments are telling them that the capital is there to make the underlying investments in that infrastructure, but something needs to close the gap. Digbee has a role in doing that.
Digbee ESG is an ESG disclosure platform for the mining industry. With a right-sized set of frameworks, it simplifies ESG disclosure.
What we've done is we've taken that knowledge of what is going on in that sustainability standard world, coupled with our knowledge of the mining sector, and we've brought the two together.
Through standardized and easy-to-understand reports for the comparison of companies and projects across the sector. This brings matters to the board level and facilitates changes on the ground. By indicating the direction of travel and a balance sheet of opportunities and threats. With scores designed to be objective, future-looking, and freely accessible.
A digital ESG presence allows mining companies to reach out and have engagement with their local stakeholders, insurers, fund managers, and others.
Companies like Adriatic Metals have to earn their license to operate within a local community. We're going to be there for decades, and we need to preserve that license to operate, which means we have to have a solid foundation for that relationship, and we must continue that relationship very actively and very deliberately with our local community to ensure that there is that trust in the company and trust that we will do everything in our power to ensure that this mine integrates fully into their local community and minimises any negative impacts that it may have on either their community, their natural environment, or their built-up environment.
The companies, have for many years had to incorporate ESG because it is a necessity of operating and doing business within the country. What they now need to do is to showcase that in a format that allows people to look at companies through the same lens.
The roadmap that's established for the Digbee analysis, mining companies understand exactly what they need to do to take their current relationships into the 21st century and beyond. You need to establish that trust. But beyond that, it gives them the ability to understand their risks and deliver benefits to all stakeholders in ways the industry has never done before.
Asking the right pertinent questions and having an independent assessment allows greenwashing to be tackled head-on, ensuring that we can address best practice in operations and in the boardroom, while also allowing boards of directors to feel comfortable that a cultural change within that company can drive ESG forward in a positive way throughout.
Mining has the potential to be amongst the most valued services in society. Mining provides essential goods. Mining projects are a source of very good paying jobs, critical infrastructure, major boosts to local economies. In 2019, the mining industry recorded less fatalities than the leisure industry, hospitality, education, and wholesale trade. Yet in many ways, a lot of people consider mining to be a necessary evil.
The case needs to be made more loudly that you cannot have a green energy revolution without mining more metals, and the right metals. So one of the great things that we can do at Tungsten West is mine very responsibly in a Western world economy in a sustainable way where we make the minimum impact on the environment that's possible.
Currently, we don't have anywhere near enough raw materials in circulation in order to be able to build infrastructure such as wind turbines, photovoltaics, batteries, electric vehicles. We don't have enough copper or nickel or cobalt or rare earth elements, graphite, lithium, etc. in circulation to be able to build this infrastructure.
There is a growing appetite for investors to invest in the mining industry who are going to produce the products needed for the world's transition to a sustainable future, but only if management can adhere to best practice and also show independently a credible means of tracking ESG.
ESG is here. It is here to stay. The investors are here, the regulators are here, and now the exploration companies can show that we've always been here and be rewarded for showing that we are managing those ESG threats, but also taking advantage of those opportunities for the future.
Management are looking for opportunities to not only mitigate the risks, but also to improve perception as a whole within society.
The industry needs an independent body to be able to have credibility in the way that it engages with everybody it interacts with. And at the moment, that body doesn't exist. And so the role of a group like Digbee is to fulfill that. It will create a format for engagement, for debate, for communication and interconnectivity across all of the different vested interests. And to do that in a way that is impartial with independent and third-party analysis shouldn't scare the mining industry. The mining industry should embrace that, because if they can reach a point where that credibility is awarded to them through a process that is viewed to be fair and not conflicted, then that will help everybody to go forward.
Well, if mining can truly find, extract, process, sell, and in the meantime act as positive stewards of the land beneath our feet, if mining can do that in a responsible manner, then we will be able to stand a chance of going through our energy transition in a sustainable way.
The era we live in is unparalleled in the opportunities and challenges we face. This intersection between innovation and environmental degradation demands that we work together to develop creative solutions to complex problems. As a key player in the world's transition to renewable energy, the mining industry is more important than ever before. With ESG catalyzing positive change for both the mining sector and the wider global community, the mining industry is here as a partner in the pursuit of a sustainable future for all.
Mining in Cornwall has a long and rich history, in fact stretching back to the Bronze Age. And as the old saying goes, the Bronze Age didn't end because we ran out of bronze, it ended because something better came along. And it couldn't be truer than it is today. The mining companies in Cornwall you're about to hear from are plotting out a future to allow the region to meet the demand for the fourth industrial revolution. And first up, Cornish Lithium.
I founded Cornish Lithium in 2016 because I realised the transition towards electric vehicles would need metals such as lithium, and that was very important as the UK transitions that way towards building electric vehicles. So the UK is currently totally dependent on imports of lithium, as is Europe. Europe produces no battery-grade lithium currently, so it's a huge problem as we transition towards electric vehicles. That opportunity has to be thought about, and how do we supply that? And really the potential here in Cornwall, and the work we've done so far indicates that there is potential here. There's a potential to build a big industry here to supply some or possibly all of the UK's requirements. But it's early days, but very encouraging so far. And as people are more and more concerned about the carbon impacts of vehicles production, particularly if those raw materials are brought from overseas where we have no idea what the carbon footprint is, if we can produce them here where we can understand exactly what that carbon footprint is and reduce it as much as possible, that is a hugely positive thing for the environment.
The car industry here in the UK is massively important. It employs over 800,000 people. As we move to electric vehicles and combined with the Brexit rules of origin, we will have to manufacture these lithium-ion batteries here in the UK to supply into the car industry. It just seems to make sense that we should build these lithium-ion batteries required for these electric vehicles manufactured here in the UK from UK-supplied lithium, such as the projects we are looking at here in Cornwall. For UK to meet its net zero carbon emissions, lithium is going to be a key element to allow that transition.
Cornwall's got this amazing natural capital, both onshore and offshore. Its oceans and its geo-resources have fed its people and fueled its economy for thousands of years. Cornwall was once the mining capital of the world for tin and copper, and it's actually got huge potential to play a really significant role in this next industrial revolution. We've not just got the potential for floating offshore wind and geothermal, but we've also got the potential to produce metals such as lithium that are so vital to battery technologies and are going to play a crucial role in this energy transition. Cornwall is underlain by this big mass of granite. It runs from Dartmoor in the east all the way out to Land's End and the Isles of Scilly in the west, and it's all joined up at depth. And this granite is really important for two reasons. One, it's enriched in lithium if you compare it to most granites worldwide. And secondly, it's also hot, and that's why we've got the potential for geothermal energy down here as well. We're looking to extract lithium from two different geological settings. The first is from the granite itself, where it's contained within lithium-rich mica minerals. And then secondly, we're looking to produce lithium from these geothermal waters that circulate naturally at depth within fractures beneath our feet.
Cornwall's a great place to be exploring for these critical metals such as lithium. There's already an existing mining industry here. The China clay industry still employs nearly 1,000 people. There's excellent infrastructure in the form of railways, ports, roads, airports, etc. And there's also access to trained professionals from the Camborne School of Mines, and also over 100 companies in the Cornwall Mining Alliance. So really, you couldn't design a better place to be. We've really achieved a huge amount in the last 4 years we've been in operation. We've built a great team. We've absolutely identified great potential for extracting lithium from both hard rock and from geothermal waters, and we really believe we can move this forward to create a vital new industry for UK.
We are using a combination of historic data that we've accumulated over the years, combined with modern analysis techniques that will allow us to model the geology of Cornwall. Going forward, as we move from this exploration phase into the construction and production phase, we are using sustainable and environmentally conscious engineering designs to ensure that this industry will last a very long time here in Cornwall and create lots and lots of jobs.
We're taking a data-driven approach to exploration. We're combining historic data with modern sources to create a really good understanding of the subsurface.
So we're in Cornish Lithium's archive studio. This is where we convert historic mine plans, mine sections, geological maps into digital files for the geologists to incorporate into their models. We've got about 2,000 of these in this room itself that we've got stored on site, but we've also got access to many thousands more in private archives and other public archives that we can visit.
We're capturing drone footage, we're looking at satellite imagery, and we're integrating all of these really interesting sources together using machine learning algorithms. Due to the innovative nature of what we're doing, we really like to collaborate with partners in industry and academia. We collaborate with the Camborne School of Mines, we're collaborating with the Satellite Applications Catapult to combine satellite data, Earth observation data, remote sensing, drone footage to create prospectivity maps for lithium and other metals in Cornwall.
Lithium was first discovered in Cornwall in 1864 by Professor Miller. He came down to Cornwall to analyse the mine waters that were coming out of all of these structures within the mine workings. And he found them to be unusually rich in lithium, or lithium chloride as we know it today. And so whilst back in 1864 there was no use for lithium, today with the electric vehicle revolution, it's vital for the global supply. And so now it's the centre of our exploration programme.
The geothermal waters are convecting within naturally occurring fault zones. These are basically fractures within the bedrock. Our idea is to drill a 1 to 2 kilometre borehole from the surface down into these permeable geological structures. This means that we need to model the subsurface accurately in order to know where exactly to drill these boreholes into the subsurface. We use digital modelling software in order to maximise our chances of hitting these structures at depth. We drilled our first boreholes to explore for lithium in geothermal waters last year at the United Downs site. We collected samples from these boreholes and actually proved the existence of lithium in geothermal waters.
We pump the water to the surface and we collect samples such as this one. We then send these samples to different technology providers around the globe who specialise in DLE, or direct lithium extraction technology. Now, direct lithium extraction is a series of different technologies that use membranes and sorbents, particularly ion exchange and adsorption technologies, to isolate the lithium based on its chemical and physical properties. Once you've isolated the lithium from all of the other compounds and molecules within the water, you can re-inject that as a waste stream. We can then concentrate this lithium solution up and produce different lithium compounds such as lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide that are sellable on the market. So United Downs was the first site that we drilled for lithium and geothermal waters in Cornwall, and we are now turning United Downs into an R&D facility for Cornish Lithium. This facility will allow us to bring different DLE technology companies from around the world to Cornwall to do real-world on-site testing of our geothermal waters.
We've also recently been awarded some funding from the UK government's Getting Building Fund, and this is to build a pilot lithium extraction plant at the Deep Geothermal project, which is over the road from our site at United Downs in central Cornwall. This will be a £4 million collaboration with Geothermal Engineering Limited, who actually run the Deep Geothermal project at United Downs. It's going to allow us to build a pilot lithium extraction plant to trial some of this direct lithium extraction technology on deep geothermal waters. This is particularly exciting for two reasons. Firstly, by using geothermal energy to power your lithium extraction plant, there's the opportunity for it to be net zero carbon lithium. Secondly, the lithium grades of these deep geothermal waters in Cornwall are actually really high when you compare them to other geothermal projects across the world. We've got over 250 milligrams per litre of lithium within these waters, which is higher than the shallow systems. It might not sound like much, but actually this is globally significant. We believe that this represents a really exciting opportunity for Cornish Lithium to lead the charge on environmentally responsible, low carbon or even net zero carbon production of lithium from geothermal waters.
We're also looking for the potential to produce lithium from hard rock as well, and we found a project up at Trelava, which is an old China clay district in St Austell. And we found that there's lithium in these small micas within the granite rock itself. Lithium was actually found back in World War II at the Trelava project, but it was since forgotten about until recently, and we started working on the project again. And we're now in our second drill programme to test whether there's a resource of lithium at the Trelava project. We've also been doing a lot of really exciting test work. We've signed a deal with Lepidico, which lets us use their technology to process these rocks in a much more environmentally sustainable way. And we've actually managed to produce battery-grade lithium hydroxide, which is really exciting for the project.
This energy transition is going to be hugely mineral intensive, particularly as we build low carbon technologies to move away from our reliance on fossil fuels. In fact, the World Bank estimate that we're going to need 965% more lithium by 2050 than we were producing a couple of years ago. This means that the mineral exploration industry has got a huge job on our hands if we're going to be able to find all of these raw materials that are going to be needed to build low carbon technologies such as wind turbines and electric cars. This means that there's an increasing imperative to make sure that we're actually exploring for and extracting these minerals as responsibly as we possibly can be. And that's something that's really core to everything that we're doing here at Cornish Lithium. We're doing this by embracing the latest technologies that allow us to explore for things really efficiently and extract things as responsibly as possible, to mean that we're doing everything as environmentally and socially responsibly as we possibly can be.
We really believe that a new lithium extraction industry here in Cornwall would benefit not just Cornwall but the whole of the UK as it integrates into our battery supply chain, our electric vehicle aspirations. It's really important that we develop this amazing geological potential here in Cornwall to develop this raw material supply chain in an eco-friendly way. We have the technology to do that now, and we're really excited about the potential of building this new industry here in Cornwall. It's so important that we do this, and the time is now.
Thanks to the team at Cornish Lithium. Next is Tungsten West and their outline of one of the most exciting prospects in tungsten in the region.
Tungsten West was founded in 2019 with the sole purpose of buying the Hemerdon tungsten tin deposit out of receivership. After buying the project out of receivership in 2019, Tungsten West went and did test work on the ore body to understand the metallurgical responsiveness for different techniques to separate the tungsten and the tin out from the gangue minerals. This has all been culminated in a couple of years of work, which has been compiled into a bankable feasibility study. We published our BFS a few months ago. The capex required to restart and rebuild the processing plant is about £35 million, and it'll take us about 12 months until we restart the processing plant. The BFS has a 23-year life of mine associated with it. That makes it the second largest tungsten reserve outside of China. Tungsten is a strategic and very critical mineral, given its applications in the automotive sector, oil and gas, space, aeronautics, and several other applications.
So behind me here we have the Hemerdon deposit. Our calculations put that as the third largest tungsten resource in the world. The Hemerdon deposit is centralised around what we call the Hemerdon granite. This is a body of intrusive rock. It was molten and pushed up into the Earth's crust about 292 million years ago. So this is actually one of the oldest granites in southwest England, if not the oldest, and we believe that's a key reason why there is so much tungsten here. At the end of last year and the start of this year, we had a fairly comprehensive drilling campaign. The drilling we did was to test the continuation of these high-grade zones, particularly down plunge, and two of the holes we drilled, particularly in the northern part of the deposit, I believe were the highest grade intersections ever drilled to date at the site. So it's been an extremely rewarding exercise and had a very positive impact on the economics of the project. So we're standing on fresh rock in the base of the Hemerdon open pit, and behind me you can see some of the mineralisation exposed in these rocks that shows the sheeted vein nature of the system, and within it the quartz veins that contain ferberite, which is our ore of tungsten, and cassiterite, our ore of tin. One of the crucial difficulties faced by the previous operation was the upper portion of this deposit, i.e. the material that's been removed above us, was heavily kaolinised, i.e. the granite had been altered into a china clay, as is mined in other areas of southwest England. Fortunately for Tungsten West, that material has been mined out, and we're now sitting on the fresh rock, as you can see, that is much more metallurgically amenable to the processes we have and the processes we'll install, and ultimately should lead to much higher recoveries for the future operation.
One of the big focuses of Tungsten West now and Aggregates West is the utilisation of all the waste streams that come out from a metalliferous mining operation. Under the previous Wolf operation, this was never explored in any great detail, but under our new operation, under Tungsten West, we're now looking to capitalise and utilise every single product, every single waste stream that comes out of the minerals processing facility.
The whole concept of what we're trying to achieve here is to provide sustainable aggregates to support Britain's built environment. We are displacing material from the pit to the mine waste facility as a metalliferous mining operation, and we want to make best use of those byproducts, those secondary aggregates, and introduce those to the UK market.
This releases immediate cash flow for Aggregates West as a business and supports obviously the Tungsten West restart operation. Part of that process has been not just exploring the geochemistry and the geology of the rock type and exploring what production process we need to get it to that end user specification. This has also been looking at our regulatory processes in terms of environmental permitting and planning decisions. As part of this process, we've explored all of the infrastructure across the southwest region, and this goes from the road networks, this goes into the shipping networks and the shipping port facilities. We look at the rail networks and all of the requirements that come with that. Part of this process over the next 12 months is bringing together some of those top mines from around the UK and exploring all of the options that we have available, from processing, geology, production and route to market. Our big driver within this project is sustainability. Everything we do has to have sustainability at the forefront of our agenda. We are a green company. Our aspiration is to follow in the footsteps of obviously the UK and drive forward all green agendas. We are looking at how we can utilise obviously the existing infrastructure and look at how we can drive the energy requirements and demand of that infrastructure down to impact less of a carbon footprint.
Tungsten West Limited was founded on environmental social governance principles. Our first aim was to go out and achieve ISO 14001 environmental management, 9001 which is quality management, and 45001 which is health and safety. Basing the business on those principles, we are able to meet all regulatory requirements for all of our regulatory stakeholders, including the Devon County Council and Environment Agency. So this is our main environmental discharge point currently. This is where we discharge trade effluent to the environment. We control the quality of the water here by monitoring the suspended solids, dissolved copper, aluminium and pH.
As a company, we have a strategy of being carbon neutral by 2027. We're looking to replace our trucks, our shovels, our excavators with hydrogen-powered vehicles, and it's something that we're working with Plymouth City Council and the Royal Navy, who both have a policy of replacing the bus fleet and the vehicles at the local port with hydrogen-powered vehicles when that is technically feasible to do so.
The project was run by Wolf Minerals for 3 years. They spent £200 million on the project, however went into receivership in 2018. The project went into receivership predominantly due to key problem areas associated with the processing plant. The two areas of main concern were plant availability, the fact that the processing plant wasn't on that much of the time, and low recoveries, the fact that they weren't able to recover as much of the tungsten and the tin as they were forecasting. Those two issues coupled together meant that they were getting very poor payability on the tungsten and the tin concentrates they were selling. After making several improvements to the processing plant, a lot of good work was done in the 1980s in terms of understanding the variability of the ore body, and a process plant design was formulated thereafter. That information and design was then taken under Wolf Minerals, and that's where you see the processing plant being built today. Now that the processing plant is turned off, it's far easier to implement the changes required to bring it up to where it should be. With regards to the plant availability, we're changing out the entire front end of the processing plant. So this is the processing plant. The aim of the game here is to concentrate the material that is fed into the front end of the processing plant and concentrate it from 0.2% tungsten up to roughly 55 to 65% tungsten. The processing plant's broken down into 3 key areas. The first area is the front end of the processing plant, where you do the comminution and classification, i.e. you crush the material down to size and then you screen it out so it enters the concentrator circuit. Concentrator circuit is the second area of the processing plant, where you are concentrating the tungsten and the tin minerals, separating them from gangue minerals to produce a pre-concentrate. Thereafter, the material is sent to the refinery, where it's upgraded for final concentrate. Once the tungsten tin minerals have been liberated, the fines reports into the fine gravity circuit here, where you take advantage of the specific gravity of the tungsten tin minerals against the gangue minerals. This is the coarse concentrator circuit. We're using dense media separation. As you can see, there are 2 dense media separators here. One of them has been upgraded to 4 cyclones. One of them is still awaiting upgrade. When we restart the processing plant, we will upgrade this second dense media separator circuit to replicate exactly what's happened to the right. Once the tungsten and the tin have been upgraded via gravity separation, they're then separated out via magnetic separation. So we produce 2 concentrates, tungsten concentrate, and here we have tin concentrate. Towards the end of operations here in 2018, with purely 1 concentrator circuit being upgraded, the recoveries improved significantly. Now that we're going in and upgrading the second circuit, one expects further recoveries to improve. We've taken all that information from the 1980s and turned it into a 21st century processing plant. That's exactly what we're doing with the introduction of X-ray transmission ore sorting, a technology that's only really come to prominence in the last 10 years in the mining industry.
I'm here really to support this project, this very important strategic project to develop the tungsten mine just outside of the village of Hemerdon in my constituency. It's going to create many well-paid jobs. It's hugely important to this region to get this strategic mineral out of the ground and exported all over the world. It's going to be a massive economic boost to our region, and it's going to be done in a way that's sensitive to the environment. So I'm hugely behind this project. The local community is behind this project, and we desperately want it to succeed.
Restarting Hemerdon Tungsten Tin Deposit is absolutely critical for the UK. Not only does it prove to the world that we can actually successfully mine here, but also we're producing two very strategic minerals in terms of tungsten and tin.
Critical minerals are obviously getting a huge amount of press at the moment, given the very large price rises that we're seeing across a number of commodities right now. China has a dominant position in many critical minerals, including tungsten. China mines 80% of the world's tungsten. So to have a very, very large resource, multi-decade resource of tungsten here in the UK is of massive strategic importance.
The other added benefits for the Southwest is clearly the creation of 300 direct jobs. This was a massive job creator under Wolf Minerals. Those jobs are now gone, and we're aiming to restart those jobs within 12 months. Given the size of the ore body, we're going to be here for a while. We've got a 23-year life of mine, so we're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
This is a massive deposit of tungsten and tin. It is a world-class deposit. It's going to be a world-class mine, and we are doing all the right things to fix it and to turn it into something that the UK can be properly proud of.
Many thanks to Max and Mark from Tungsten West. We're going to now move on to talk about copper and tin, and a presentation from Cornish Metals, who are restarting production in South Crofty and undertaking further exploration in the region. I'll leave it to them to explain to you exactly what they're doing.
Cornwall has been a producer of tin and copper since the Bronze Age. Driven by our human desire for metals, mining has shaped the people and landscape of Cornwall for thousands of years. When South Crofty Mine closed in 1998, many thought this was the end, and that tin mining in Cornwall would be gone forever. But efforts to restart the mine literally began the day it closed, and 23 years later, tin has once again emerged as a fundamental metal that we need for our daily lives. Today, it is not bronze axes or tin cans that drive the tin market, but computing, electronics, IT networks, power generation and power storage, all the essential components of the modern world, which are increasing in demand as we turn our attention to climate change and our desire for a carbon-neutral economy.
When South Crofty closed in 1998, the predominant use of tin was as tin plate, which is used in baked bean cans and tin foil and things like that. Nowadays, the predominant use of tin is solder. Solder is used in all electrical circuitry as the glue that binds all the other components together. Without tin, we won't be able to generate electricity from renewable sources, we won't be able to charge the lithium batteries in our cars, and we won't be able to make efficient use of the power that we generate and store. Tin really is a critical metal.
Cornwall is one of very few areas of the world where commercially significant tin deposits can be found. The reason for this is its geology. It is underlain by a vast granite batholith that provides the heat required to generate and concentrate metallic elements into economically viable mineral deposits.
The geology of Cornwall consists of metasediments which have been intruded by a granite body that's risen up, and as it's risen up it's created fractures in the rock, and that's what's been filled with the mineralising fluids. In the fractures in the rock, the fluids deposit minerals and it forms veins, and these veins consist of chalcopyrite, which gives us copper, and deeper down we have cassiterite, which gives us tin.
Since records began, it is estimated that Cornwall has produced around 1.75 million tonnes of metallic tin, worth over £34 billion at today's prices. The majority of this metal, and wealth it created, came from the central mining district, the area surrounding the imposing Carn Bray, which underlies the towns of Camborne, Poole and Redruth. In the heart of this district lies South Crofty, the jewel in the crown of Cornwall's mining industry and the last working tin mine in Europe.
A lot of people think that tin mining in Cornwall is purely historic and that South Crofty closed in the 90s because it ran out of tin. But that's actually not the case. South Crofty mine and all of the other tin mines in Cornwall closed because of sustained low metal prices. When South Crofty closed, it actually had quite large tin resources left in the ground. At Cornish Metals, we've re-evaluated those resources, and in 2017 we published a resource to an international standard that indicated we have around 44,000 tonnes of metal still in the ground. Following the drilling that we did here last year, we're hoping that we can increase that resource to around 60,000 tonnes of metal over the next year. And by the time we get the mine into production, then we're looking actually to have a resource nearer to 75,000 tonnes of metal in the ground. And what's really important about those resources is not just the quantity of tin, but the grade of tin that's in the ground. We find here in Cornwall that we have some of the highest grade tin deposits in the world. By comparison, most tin mines in the world operate at grades of less than 0.5%. Our resource grade here is at 1.8%, so more than 3 times higher than the global average. So in addition to our project here at South Crofty, we also have an exploration programme going on at United Downs. A diamond drill hole was recently drilled that intersected 14 metres at 8.5% copper and 1.2% tin. We recently listed Cornish Metals on the AIM market of the London Stock Exchange and raised £8 million to further the exploration at United Downs.
We're right in the middle of United Downs, halfway between United Mines to the south and Consolidated Mines to the north, and this area of land has never been explored before, and it just goes to show how much opportunity there is in between the historical mines. So we're drilling about 10 or 12 holes along the length of the vein. That's about 1,000 metres long, and we're angling the drill holes to intercept it between 100 and 500 metres depth. Once we get the core, we take it back to South Crofty for further processing. This involves geologically logging the core, photographing it, splitting it in half. We keep one half and we send the other half to get pulverised and assayed to see how much metal it contains. We're confident that we can continue to find high-grade mineralisation in between areas of historic mining at United Downs and at South Crofty.
When South Crofty closed, the price of tin was under $5,000 per tonne. Today, the price is above $28,000 per tonne, driven by the demand for a metal that is critical to our modern world but in increasingly short supply. Today, the majority of tin mining is conducted in Southeast Asia, in countries such as Indonesia, China and Myanmar. Lesser quantities are mined in Peru, Brazil and the Democratic Republic of Congo. However, tin mining is often associated with environmental destruction, social deprivation and the sponsoring of conflict. The only significant producer in the developed world is Australia, from a single deep mine in Tasmania.
When I was at college, I was really struggling to decide whether I wanted to do veterinary medicine or mining engineering, and because not much is taught about mining in schools, I didn't really know what that really entailed, so I decided to come here at South Crofty Mine for work experience. That was 3 years ago now and I haven't left since. So I've been doing all sorts from GIS, which is Geographical Information Systems, making maps, core logging, water sampling and blasting underground. I find the most exciting bit of it, the underground blasting side, where I can help out charging up the face and then doing the blasting itself. I find this to be really interesting and valuable for when I want to go get a job in industry, as it's getting that experience required.
Okay, fire!
Ideally, I would like to stay in Cornwall. We have some of the best tin deposits in the world with some of the highest grades. These are just waiting to be extracted again. But until we have sufficient funding to do that, I will have no choice but to move to Australia or Canada to go find work.
When we reopen South Crofty Mine, it will be of real economic significance to both the local community and the UK as a whole. We estimate that around 275 people will be employed directly. Those jobs will be permanent, high-skilled jobs in an area where seasonal employment and minimum wage is prevalent. in addition to the people that we'll be employing directly, we estimate that another 750 to 1,000 people could be employed indirectly as a result of the wider supply chain. We estimate that more than £600 million will be put into the UK economy from South Crofty Mine over the current life of mine.
If the UK is to tackle climate change and meet its target of being a carbon neutral economy by 2050, new technologies will be needed to generate and store more electricity from renewable sources, to electrify the vehicles on our roads, to heat and insulate our homes more efficiently, and to automate and control industrial processes to make better use of the energy that we generate. All these technologies require tin. To be at the forefront of the climate change agenda and stimulate a successful green economy, the UK needs to secure a domestic supply of critical metals. This will enable UK businesses to grow and not only design or sell high-tech goods, but also manufacture these important technologies and export them across the world.
Over the last 20 or 30 years, there's been a lot of developments in underground mining. The basics have stayed broadly the same. We still have to drill, blast, muck the broken rock and then take the ore to a processing plant to extract the metal from it. But what has changed is that process has become a lot more mechanised and a lot safer. So previously, when most people think of mining in Cornwall, they have the image of the miner with the jackleg, the handheld rock drill. These days, the drilling is done with mobile, trackless equipment, and the mucking as well is done on rubber-tired scoop trams. Now, one of the big problems that most mines have to deal with is the question of what to do with their waste. Previously, most mines would have had to deposit that waste in a tailings dam on surface. Now, where there's been a lot of developments over the last 20 to 30 years is in the use of underground tailings disposal. Many mines across the world are now using this, but what most mines have a problem with is the fact that they don't have enough voids available to fit all of their tailings into. And that's where South Crofty differs, in that we actually have a large amount of pre-existing voids here at South Crofty from previous mining. And so, quite feasibly, South Crofty could become one of the first mines in the world to utilise 100% underground tailings disposal, which from an environmental point of view is a massive plus, because it means that our surface footprint is considerably smaller and of considerably less impact than it would be if we had to have a surface tailings dam.
So the biggest hurdle we face in reopening South Crofty Mine is the fact that the mine is flooded. In order to dewater the mine, we need around £15 million, and that will build a water treatment plant and pay for the electricity and chemicals that we need to pump the water out and treat it. To dewater will take around 18 months, but we've calculated that the £15 million investment will actually give returns of around £20 million to the UK economy after the first 2 years. And by the time the mine comes into production, after 4 years, we will have benefited the UK economy to the tune of around £90 million.
Developed countries like the UK need to act responsibly when it comes to sourcing critical metals and ensure that we do not offshore our responsibilities to developing countries where environmental and social standards are lower than our own. In the UK, and in Cornwall in particular, we have our own legacy environmental and social issues caused by the closure of traditional industries. Camborne is one of the poorest communities in the UK, and yet it sits atop a vast source of potential wealth, just waiting to be extracted from the ground.
I started in 1981, worked with my father like many miners. Huge amount of camaraderie here at the mine. Camborne and Poole were absolutely buzzing, and when people used to leave work, you couldn't drive through Camborne because so many people were walking along the roads or cycling home. So it was a really busy place with a lot of employment and good quality engineering jobs. Well, it's a sad reflection of the former heyday of not just mining but of engineering in the town. The shops are looking really tired, the properties are looking really tired. They haven't invested what I believe in industry, engineering, and they put all their eggs basically in one basket and looked at tourism. Yes, it's needed in Cornwall, but not to the extent where it affects how people pay their mortgages, pay their rents. You know, we do need good employment that can support a family.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that mining does, not just will, but mining does offer a better opportunity than that. It gives you a wage that will pay a good rent, buy a good house, and you know, it's sustainable, 52 weeks a year. I think, you know, Cornwall is going to be the place for mining companies to invest, and I think we will get that employment back here in Cornwall.
At South Crofty, Cornish Metals can extract the tin required to supply our high-tech industries, drive economic growth, and help to resolve legacy environmental issues in one of our poorest communities, provide skilled jobs and partner with education to ensure that local people have a future within their local communities, and, above all, do it in a responsible manner that ensures our desire for a better climate does not negatively impact others. Cornish Metals is working to redevelop and reopen South Crofty and seize the opportunities presented by climate change and the desire for a carbon-neutral world to be a catalyst for real change.
Thanks very much to Owen and the team at Cornish Metals. And now to a very, very exciting prospect which is developing as we speak at Cornwall Resources.
Welcome to Cornwall Resources and the Redmoor Tungsten Tin Copper Project. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of UK-listed Strategic Minerals plc. Redmoor is located in East Cornwall, near to the village of Kellybray. The area has a long and proud mining history. We have a Cornwall-based team with substantial worldwide mining experience who have worked together since 2017 with significant success to find a new deposit that can provide critical metals as required by the UK for the forthcoming green industrial revolution. This is important. For example, over 80% of global tungsten production currently comes from China. One of the key strengths of the project is that it is particularly high grade. This means that there is more metal present per tonne of rock than in many other comparable deposits, meaning that net carbon dioxide emissions are likely to be lower per tonne of metal. The project is one of the largest and highest grade deposits of its type in the world. Cornwall, although heavily mined in the past, has seen very little modern exploration. The success we have had so far demonstrates just how much remains to be found in the region. One of the lesser known paradoxes of exploration in the southwest, and particularly Cornwall, is that the area is one of the most heavily mined but least explored parts of the world.
So let's hear it for Trelawney, may his army never die. Let's hear it for Trevilick with engines steaming by. Let's hear it for the farmers and for the fishermen. Let's hear it for the miners who we hope will mine again.
From even before we started operations here, Cornwall Resources has worked to build a positive relationship with the community who host us. We have been successful minimising impacts, for example reducing noise levels during drilling. A good example is using straw bale walls built for us by a local farmer. During our 2 drilling programmes we have had no complaints. More widely, we expect that by providing a local source of metals, reliance on supply from areas with lower environmental and social governance standards can be reduced. This means that the UK's green industrial revolution can be supplied with relatively green feed materials.
Let's hear it for Trevilick with engines steaming by. Let's hear it for the farmers and for the fishermen. Let's hear it for the miners who we hope will mine again.
Yeah! I think one of the benefits of your company and what you've achieved in Callington is the communication with the public. I think that is really, really important. Instead of being outside of the conversation, you've included them in it every step of the way, and I think that is why the reaction in Callington has been so positive to it.
We've worked very hard because we recognise to start up a mining project you need to get the local people on your side, and that's why we've put a lot of effort into it over the last few years, and we've been delighted with the response we've had from the local people. And as you say, mining gives good jobs, well-paid jobs, and as we all know, they're vitally important in this part of Cornwall.
Well, when you consider that South East Cornwall, this part of Cornwall in particular, has a rich mining heritage where we are at the moment. You know, on Kit Hill there are 39 capped mine shafts, 39 different mining companies we used to be working on here. And Callington itself is surrounded by mining industry. So I think it's just a natural progression to go back towards that, but in the modern sense. So the way you're thinking of doing it in the future is going to be something where young people can aspire to become miners, to work in the mining industry in Callington.
One of the things that we've worked hard at is to explain to people that mining isn't how people remember it from the 40s and 50s. There is a new way of mining, a better way of mining that's much more environmentally friendly. And as you say, better jobs, high paid jobs and more skillful jobs. And we look forward to the challenge of starting up a new modern mine in the Kelly Bray area.
I think that's going to be something we're all going to be looking forward to, and we wish you every success with it, and I'm sure the Town Council will be supporting you all the way through.
Since early 2017, we've completed over 14,000 metres of diamond drilling. This produces a series of cylinders of rock, drill core, look like this, which are logged in detail by geologists, then cut in half and sent off for laboratory analysis. We then take the results from the lab work, combine them with our geological data and produce a model. External independent consultants have then calculated the tonnage and grade of the resource. This has provided an inferred resource of 11.7 million tonnes at 1.17% tin equivalent. It contains a combination of tungsten, tin and copper. This is what some of the high-grade mineralisation looks like. This piece is in excess of 10% tin equivalent, and here you have a large blade of wolframite, some chalcopyrite, and that's tungsten and copper mineralisation respectively. The story doesn't end here. As well as the main resource, we have a defined exploration target of 4 to 8 million tonnes at a similar grade. In addition to this, there's still further potential to the west, which we're currently assessing.
We've taken the resource and completed a draft mine design and financial evaluation. Mining would be underground and at least 300 metres below the surface. This means minimal surface impacts. It also means that through using an inclined tunnel for access at around a 10% gradient, we can locate the processing facility a long way from, for example, housing. The initial project is expected to have a mine life of at least 12 years, to result in direct employment of around 200 people and to see a capital investment of over $85 million in an area of East Cornwall that is keen to see job growth.
Strategic Minerals are listed on London's AIM market. Since first investing into the project in 2016 and subsequently taking full control, we've been extremely impressed with the calibre of mineral deposits that can be found in Cornwall, as well as the level of support for the industry in the region. The project offers strong financial returns, with our current base case model projecting close to $1 billion worth of revenue over the mine life, supporting both the British and particularly the Cornish economy. Further exploration is expected to grow both the resource base and the financial returns beyond this initial assessment. Our key focus is to ensure that a mine is built and the huge regional opportunity is realised. We look forward to continuing to invest in the project and developing what will be one of the world's highest grade deposits of its type, continuing Cornwall's proud and world-leading record in the sector to deliver a new phase of responsible mining in the southwest of the UK.
Thanks very much to Brett and the team from Cornwall Resources. We now move on to our final presentation from British Lithium.
Hi, I'm Andrew Smith, the CEO of British Lithium. British Lithium was the first company to successfully drill for lithium in the UK. We were the first company to develop a sustainable process for treating the micaceous granites that we find here. In fact, we were the first company to successfully produce battery quality lithium carbonate. We've gone on to drill up a resource of over 100 million tonnes. That's enough to produce 21,000 tonnes per year of lithium carbonate, which would power over 500,000 electric vehicles. That will go a long way to meet the UK's anticipated demand should we switch to electric vehicles by 2030. Over the past 6 years, we've developed a sustainable technology to treat the micaceous granites found here using the lowest environmental footprint possible. This is important as electric vehicles is an answer to a problem, and therefore the production of lithium must be done in a sustainable way. Our pioneering LSEP technology is not only chemical-free, but can be powered from the electrical grid, thus using renewable power. This is important because most of the lithium production in the world comes out of Southeast Asia, which is powered by coal. Enabling us to use renewable power will not only reduce our carbon footprint, but shift our independence away from Southeast Asia to domestic production right here at home.
Hi, my name is Robin Kelly. I'm the Senior Geologist at British Lithium. Our drilling site is located in a mass of Cornish granite, part of a large body of magma that was forced upwards and slowly cooled and crystallised during what is known as the Vriscan orogeny. That occurred around 300 to 400 million years ago, when two tectonic plates collided and formed the supercontinent Pangaea. The main minerals within a granite are quartz, felspar and mica. Our project area hosts a much younger granite, unusually enriched in a brown lithium mica known as zinwaldite. In 2018, British Lithium carried out a scoping study to target areas for lithium. The work involved field mapping, grab sampling, trenching and drilling to provide a better understanding of the lithium mineralisation and its grade variability within the deposit. We were able to discover a previously undefined substantial lithium resource of over 100 million tonnes. The project area is located within a disused quarry, so any environmental impact will be minimal. Any open pit design will include a ring-fence budget and plan for remediation, leaving the site in a far better condition than it is currently. Mineral processing to recover all minerals is all about finding one or several properties of your target mineral that differ from the other minerals in the ore. It starts with breaking the rock to a size where you can separate the minerals from one another, then extract ore from the waste minerals, in this case lithium mica. Here at British Lithium, we go to great lengths to minimise our use of chemicals so the waste coming from our plant does not need neutralising. The water composition is essentially unchanged, and because we can extract micas at a really coarse size, the waste material is similar to building or beach sand. Once we have made a lithium mica concentrate, we calcine it at low temperature using lime as a reagent rather than acid. The solution is subsequently purified to produce battery-grade lithium carbonate.
British Lithium is the only company to build its own in-house metallurgical research and development laboratory right here in Cornwall. Based on our experience in Western Australia, which is the lithium mining centre of the world, we've developed our technology there before importing it into the UK and making the crucial decision to build our own laboratory right here in Roche. Why? Because we wanted to custom build our equipment, try out brand new technology, build a high level of expertise, ensure quality control and support local employment. We use external laboratories where necessary to certify and validate our work, but having our own laboratory on site gives us considerable commercial advantage whilst allowing us to protect our own intellectual property. It is also providing the data we need to help design our own pilot plant.
I'm Charlotte Wilkins, British Lithium Project Manager, and this is where the pilot plant will be. Currently a vast empty shed, but one that will see plenty of activity once the £3 million plant is up and running within the next 12 months. It's important to eliminate scale-up risk by producing lithium in real-world conditions at pilot scale. This plant will allow us to collect accurate data on any waste products and emissions, test the energy and water balances, and prove our process routes. We can also produce sufficient quantities of battery-grade lithium to achieve potential customer acceptance and buy-in. Pilot-scale production represents a key milestone because whilst battery and electric vehicle makers are keen to diversify supply, they're also very concerned about their carbon footprint. Aiming to produce the world's greenest lithium gives British Lithium a huge advantage, but we need to prove what we're saying. This pilot plant, which has been generously funded by the government's Small Business Research Initiative grant, enables us to do just that. £1 million worth of bespoke long lead time equipment has already been ordered, and we will be producing lithium carbonate here by this time next year.
Cars are the UK's biggest exports, creating over 80 billion worth of GDP and employing over 800,000 people. To comply with the government's recently announced green agenda, the industry needs to transition to electric vehicles in just under 9 years. This means investing heavily in lithium battery supply chain, especially as Europe has the same aspirations as us. In fact, they have 14 gigafactories already under construction. Our plan is to be in full-scale production by 3 to 5 years. At that stage, we expect to be employing over 350 staff directly, plus many more indirectly via our local supply chain. The local economy is likely to benefit from an additional 70 million expenditure per year, and the UK as a whole will benefit from this very valuable home-produced resource. Local production of battery-grade lithium carbonate will give Britain an edge over Europe, where no lithium is currently produced. We at British Lithium have the drive, the passion, the team and the technology to build not only a quarry, but an integrated lithium carbonate plant to make domestic lithium carbonate right here in Cornwall. This is going to be crucial if we're to meet the government's ambition of building back greener.
I hope you've seen today the region's considerable potential for a cleaner, greener future for us all.
We've covered some of the critical factors impacting mining and mining development around the world, and particularly in this region. And we've heard from some of the exploration companies really leading the charge in Cornwall and the region's role in developing the resources for the fourth industrial revolution. I'm sure many of the questions that you've posed today in the chat have been answered, and those that haven't will be followed up on. Here in front of you now are the contact details. Thank you very much for coming along today, and we look forward to continuing to work with you to drive investment and to drive the development of mining and mining services in Cornwall and the South West region. Thank you very much.